Hello, my mimics, and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary episode I think is 94, and we are entering Caria Manor. Grace wants us to go to Caria Manor. Roger wants us to go to Caria Manor. Roger knows the ashes of war tied to the Carian princesses and the Carian knights, and he wants us here to figure out what Ranni had to do with the Knight of the Black Knives. You know, the world is it's in shambles, and if you want to set it to right, you got to know what put it that way. So he tells us we got to come up here. On our way here, we met Iji, and Iji was wearing this helmet. Well, not this one specifically, but a mirror helm. One of the Eternal City's ritual implements, worn by those committed to high treason. It wards off the intervention of the Greater Royal on the vassal fingers. So here we got some fingers here. If these fingers, or these hands, if they're related to the two fingers, those sets of fingers. Oh, I thought that would make them... Yeah, they're weak to fire. They don't like fire. If these fingers are related to the same fingers that we have interacted with, could they be working with Ranni? Well, if they're working with Ranni, they must not know her treason, which is obviously the Knight of Black Knives. So we can either they're not working with her or they are working with her. We can assume that, you know, maybe they are working with her, but they have no idea because we got mirror helms. If they're related to the fingers, I mean, their hands, you know, using you know, hindsight's 20/20, but you know what I'm saying. The other big thing is I kind of want to think about, I mean, Caria Manor is very interesting. We get glintstone, like, particles floating down, glintstone crystals all over the place, kind of like this blue magic fire. But I kind of want to talk about the... Maybe Frenzy Burst isn't the way to go. I probably should have had Mimic Fireball. What I wanted to talk about was how the Knight of the Black Knives really situated the Carians for, like, political dominance within the lands between. So if we... Rime Crystal Blood, which came from the wintry cold regions in the north. This is a noble sorcerer tied from the capital to the academy here at the Caria Manor. If we think about what happens during the Knight of Black Knives, based on everything we know, it happens during the age of the Erd Tree. You know, that's Marika's time. That's Godfrey's time. Godfrey gets banished. But... Oh, wait. We're going to get an item here. I'm going to have to talk about it. The very similar Albinoric from... That we... Yep, casting Glintstone sorceries from the Academy. Is he going to cast Magic Downpour? No. No, I think since this goes to show that the Albinorics are aligned with the Carians in some way. Alright, what are we getting here? It was a trap. What can we make? Freezing pot. To make a freezing pot, we just need Rime Crystal Blood. Originates from the cold, dark moon of Ranni, Carian princess. Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Let's make some of those. I guess we'll make two. We'll talk about that moon in a second, but I want to talk about. I guess we'll talk about all this stuff and then we'll chat about our items. If we think about the Carians as a faction, Renala comes from the mountaintops, and do I know we come from the mountaintops? We don't know that she comes from mountaintops. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That's that we do not know yet. But so Renala comes to the academy with her full moon. Let's take away mountaintops. That was prophetic knowledge. She comes to the academy. She takes over the academy. She has these oaths with trolls and giants and wolves. She has the Glintstone Knights. She has the power of the full moon, and they take over the academy. Then Radigan from the capital comes, and he gets... Is this going to explode? There we go. He marries Renala after the failure of 2 wars, and after their marriage, they have children. They got 3 children. They have Rykard, they got Ranni, they got Radahn. Rykard becomes a praetor, an inquisitor, becomes a great general. So both of them have station and prowess. They have political station within the lands between. Then, eventually, Ranni, so far from what we know from Roger, orchestrates the Knight of the Black Knives that kills Godwyn the Golden. And an Ice Crest shield. Wow, we're getting a lot of cool items here. Kills Godwyn the Golden. He was the first of the demigods to die. If we look at Godric's Great Rune, the first demigods were Elden Lord Godfrey and his offspring, the Golden lineage. So, if we're thinking, if we go to our talismans, this charm is modeled after the darkly gleaming blades using the Knight of Black Knives, those which gave the demigods their first taste of death. And we've already done all the theorizing, that creates Deathroot, it destroys the tree, it creates those who live in death. Then Godfrey is getting banished. Godfrey's getting banished, and then Radagon becomes the Elden Lord. So the Carians come out of nowhere. They take over the academy. Then this guy who nobody really knows who this guy is, this Radagon fellow. He's just some champion. He marries the queen, and then he becomes Elden Lord. And his children raise in status. And that's just, fishy. That's, just really fishy. What's going on here? Why does Marika choose this guy? Especially, why does she choose the guy whose daughter killed Godwyn, or at least helped with killing Godwyn with the assassins and stealing the Rune of Death from Malekith? So it's just very fishy how especially when you look at the timeline correctly, with the Knight of the Black Knives happening when Godfrey is the Elden Lord, just based on Mimic commentary, that's kind of what we have to deduce. It's kind of crazy how the lands between changes and how this guy becomes not just Elden Lord, but his children raise up in status. So let's look at the items that we got. So our first is the Freezing Pot. We got the Carian sigil on there. It needs Rime Crystal Buds, which come from the north. They come from the north. Originates from the cold, dark moon of Ranni, the Carian princess. Okay, so we knew she was a princess. She is the daughter of Rennala. Rennala is and she's the only princess left, so there was another princess. Rennala is queen of the full moon, and her full moon has... Where's the spells? Where's spells? Her full moon has enchanting powers that can bewitch. So very similar to Miquella's bewitching branches. That's what Miquella and Rennala's full moon have very similar powers. Ranni has a different moon. So she's the princess. She's not the queen, so she's younger. And she has the cold, dark moon. A dark moon, that's a new moon. So that makes sense. When the moon is new. So perhaps the Carians are like the royalty is built on the phases of the moon. Since Ranni is the daughter, she's the princess, she's younger, she gets the dark moon, she gets the new moon. Oh, I see these hands. I see these hands. I missed. Maybe I'll do this. Oh. So you saw. So perhaps that's what that means. Or... That's if the moon goes in phases, does its power change with those phases? So when it's the new moon, when it's the dark moon, it's cold, right? What does it say? Her cold, dark moon. Ooh, that's interesting. Originates from the cold, dark moon. Well, all moons should be cold, but it's ice. It's specifically ice. We can... Does frostbite. So it's specifically ice. That's something we're going to have to think about. Why does Ranni... And if she was the other princess, what did the other princesses have? Is there like the princess of the waxing moon? Is there the princess of the waning gibbous? Do each Carians get a phase of the moon? So that's something we're going to have to think about. What the hell was that sound? My god, these hands are everywhere, and they're hiding underground. I guess we could tie them definitely to the 2 fingers with the hiding underground thing, because the... Oh, a Miquella Lily. Okay. We'll stop with the We'll look at our other items. But I was going to say, since we find the 2-finger heirloom underground, I was like, it's an underground religion. So maybe that could mean the Carians are part of the 2-finger faithful, and the Tarnish prophecy is part of the 2 fingers religion. This is separate from, they want Elden Ring stuff. Corin is a prophet, but he's from outside the lands between. So the 2 fingers have high hopes for the Targents, even if they wound, if they continue to fulfill their duty. No one's going to like them. What else do we have? If you truly walk in faith, be prepared to reject all else. They have assassins clothed in darkness and shadow. Eliminate Tarnish who stray from guidance. So it could be... Oh, and we also found the 2-finger heirlooms here. It could be that the Carians might be part of this finger religion. But we know that there's something up with the fingers, because they look nasty. And they don't know what's going on. Like Melina, who can speak the Echoes of America, which we have no reason to believe that those are not the Echoes of America. She could speak the Echoes of America, and she told us that a Tarnished becoming Elden Lord will violate the Golden Order. And the 2 fingers think, well, you have to become Elden Lord because that's what the Golden Order wants. And we know that the Carians and the Golden Order aren't really aligned because we had the Liurnian Wars, but the fate once written in the night sky had been fettered by the Golden Order until they were absorbed by the Golden Order, as per Muriel and Roger. So it's hard to say there. Maybe they were part of this finger-worshipping religion. Oh, I also... I got this... I accidentally did some dialogue with Muriel that we weren't supposed to do, because I wanted to check something on this character. And while I was doing that, I was killing some of those who live in death, and I got the Grave Scythe. Great Scythe comprise... This comes from the Death Hexers. Great Scythe comprised of a large blade affixed with a crooked stick. This weapon is said... weapon wielded by the aged gravekeepers who tend the forgotten graveyards throughout the lands between. This weapon is said to serve as a charm against evil spirits in times of old. And check this out. This is really cool. Evil spirits in time of old, and look what happens. You get Deathblight resistance when you equip the Scythe. So Deathblight not tied to Deathroot. It is tied to, I guess, evil spirits. And the charm against these evil spirits protects us from Deathblight. So that's cool. We'll look at more of that when we do more Sunrealm stuff. Where were we? We got the Ice Crest Shield. Ooh, this looks pretty cool. This kind of reminds me of the Rivet Shield, and let's compare these side by side. Oh, does it also have... Oh yeah, let's also equip this shield. Iron Round Shield. It's got those 2 squiggle lines. Then these have runes on here. What does this have? Blocks against frost and blood loss. So let's look at it. Let's go up against this wall so I can see it better and drop a glowstone. One, two, three. So it has 6 points. 1, 2, yeah, 6 on each side. It looks like a rune of some sort. Is that rune on this shield at all? No, it's not on that shield at all. It's not on that shield. So this is, I guess, a crest of ice. I guess it's supposed to look like a snowflake. Kind of looks like a snowflake to me. But I wonder what those runes are supposed to be at the edges of the snowflake that kind of look like intertwined. Ooh. Ooh. This is prophetic knowledge coming on. They look like 2 fingers crossing their fingers. They look like 2 fingers crossing their fingers. That will be important later. Small metal round shield, heavier than a wooden shield, but boasts higher damage negation. The Ice Crest originates from a Carian princess. Though the effect is slight, it boosts magic damage negation and resistance to frost. So the crest comes from a Carian princess, and that Carian princess probably is Ranni, because she has the cold, dark moon and the ice pots. So this crest comes perhaps from Ranni, or can come from a previous princess. But it's no way to say. But that's interesting that this crest originates from a Carian princess, and it kind of has like those two squiggle fingers, like you're crossing your fingers, like if the two fingers on the round table hold were to crisscross their fingers. Then we also got Carian Piercer, one of the sorceries of the Carian royal family. This sorcery forms a counterpart to Carian Greatsword, highly lethal when used against single foes or riding alone. That's 27 int. So, that's just telling us there was a Carian knight here, which makes sense. This is Caria. Let's equip our stuff again. We're doing our pseudo-Carian knight build. And now we have a Miquella's Lily. So someone with the faith of Miquella's Halig Tree was in Caria Manor. We had a bunch of Trina lilies. I think one was here, pointing to this tower. I don't know, there was just a few, just through our travels. In the past episodes, I can't remember specifically, in our travels, we've just been finding what I think are a lot of Trina lilies pointing to Caria Manor. And not many Miquella lilies. So, and I'm not sure what that means yet. What's the difference between Trina worship and Halig Tree worship? But definitely someone who has faith in the Halig Tree. Oh, but that, it could be the Albinorics who planted that Miquella's Lily, because if we look at our ivory sickle, sickle fashioned from ivory, weapon carved by aged Albinorics, these weapons are evidence of their dedication to the Halig Tree despite never having entered its presence. And Latenna is an Albinoric who came from the Halig Tree thanks to her saying, I have to go back. So that could be the Albinorics have faith in Miquella's Halig Tree, which has similar bewitching. Miquella has similar bewitching powers to Renala's full moon, but perhaps the Carians, they have faith in Saint Trina, and that's why we find lilies on the shields, not in the Halig Tree, but maybe in Saint Trina. Saint Trina being the saint of sleep, saint of dreams. And her lilies kind of looking like mimics of Miquella's lilies. And there's way more Trina's lilies than there are Miquella's lilies. So Saint Trina has more of an influence than Miquella does. Even though Miquella has the bewitching, charming power. So that's kind of interesting that you would think if... Whoa, oh no, I don't want to die here. Oh my goodness. It's getting crazy. They're throwing hands. It kind of goes to show who will have more influence. Miquella's bewitching branches, and we'll equip that right now. Dreams are ethereal. Dreams, they require that you don't have to be in someone's presence to be able to affect someone's dream, I guess you could say. But with the bewitching branch, you actually need to be able to touch someone. So it could be that those who are charmed by Miquella are people who have come in contact with him. Let's see if I can get on this guy. Can he be charmed? Cannot be charmed. These fingers cannot be charmed by the bewitching branch. So they cannot, Woo. Oh no. Woo. Thank you, bird. So that's interesting to note. These hands cannot be charmed by the bewitching branch. So if they can't be charmed by the bewitching branch, they most likely can't be charmed by the full moon. Which would probably give us reason to believe why Ranni, or not Ranni, why Iji, who's committed to high treason, but who made a frozen needle for Ranni because of the Arya comparison, why he's wearing this helmet, because they can't be charmed. So we need to trick them. That makes sense to me. Oh, I ran out of juice. That's, I'm glad we have 10 bewitching branches, because you have to use them carefully. I guess I should be using them to test who can be charmed or not. We know humanoids can be charmed. I need to test if an omen can be charmed. Those who live in death, I don't know if I've tested it on it in the mimic commentary, but I know they can't be charmed. But we'll do the test just to show it. What are other enemy types? I guess Albinorics. Albinorics most likely can be charmed. They like Mikola. But it'd be worth testing to see if they can be. Spirits. Can spirits be charmed? That's something that we'd have to test as well. It's also interesting that, the part of the... it's also great there's so many somber stones in these guys. That actually should be... Why do these guys have somber stones? Why do all these hands drop sombers? Are they... Is that indicating that they're not... If somber smithing stones are mimic smithing stones, is that indicating that these are mimics? Like these aren't legit? I'm not sure. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me. How much does this damage do? Oh, I only need one. I know I don't want him to do that attack on me because I don't want to lose my Great Rune. They have their own pink charming magic that will stun you, but I do not want to lose a Great Rune. Maybe if I lose a Great Rune sometime in the future, we'll come back here and we'll test what that looks like. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the fingers are there's the prophecy of burning the Erd Tree, but they also know that a Tarnish will become Elden Lord, and is that prophetic too? Like, do the fingers have prophetic wisdom? And is that why they're aligned with why we find these hands here? And we found the two-finger religion, the two-finger talisman in the Purified Ruins. We also find a lot of three-finger influence here, up here. So there's a lot of finger influence within Liurnia, especially with these hands. So that could be indicating that it's also prophecy work. Like the Carians are trying to make sure prophecy is happening. All right. Lots of books. We know they're well learned. There is a ghost of a Carian knight. This is like the most of the well-dressed ghost that we've ever seen. This tower reminds me of this tower, the Frenzy Flame Lookout Tower. Can't say if it is for certain. Maybe that's Weeping Peninsula. I think Tetsu's Rise had these paintings. I think the paintings were in Tetsu's Rise, so I guess Tetsu's Rise must be a Carian Rise. Alright, what do you have to say? Lady Ranni, we have long awaited you. I pray for your house's swift revival. May the full moon shine upon Caria. So not the new dark moon, but the full moon. Not the cold dark moon, but the full moon. Lady Ranni, I pray for your house's swift revival. Oh, we should actually go and look at Roger's dialogue. So from Roger, now Black Knife stuff. After we give him the knife print, he says, you recall our conversation that the assassins who carried out the deeds were scions of the Eternal City. So the Knight Mirror Helm is a ritual implement of the Eternal City. So we're getting E.G. is most likely Ranni's blacksmith, and they were working with the scions of the Eternal Cities, so we think Eternal City, America. Are they aligned? Are they not aligned? We don't know yet. So he says, tells us that the person who orchestrated the Night of Black Knives was Lunar Princess Ranni, demigod and sister General Radahn Predator Rykard, child born to King Consort Radagon and his first wife Rennala. He says, I have some idea of Ranni's potential whereabouts. There's a manor north of the Academy of Raya Lucaria. That's where we're at. It's the familial home of the Carian royals from where Ranni descends. So she's from this. She was from this home. This is her house. There's been talk of the old royals' vassals gathering there in recent years. So in recent years, before Tarnished arrival, but recently, they have been coming back. So probably E.G., the blacksmith. Ranni's whereabouts since the Shattering are a well-kept secret, so the Shattering War, nobody knows where Ranni is. She hasn't been seen even once, but I suspect she might have returned to the manor in which she was born. So she was born here. And this guy says, Lady Ranni, we have long awaited you. I pray for your house's swift revival. May the full moon shine upon Caria. So Ranni goes missing. No one's seen her since the Shattering. And the Caria is just in shambles. The place is in shambles. Rennala's not doing too hot. Ranni's missing. And now she's back. And she comes back at a great time. Because we're here too. Alright. Smithing Stone. This is a church of some sort. Maybe to that glintstone. Someone doing a ceremony here. Are they doing finger worship? We'll talk about the rug in a second. Intelligence. This is called Manor Lower Level. Nothing interesting there. But we have the carpet is for the beast. And the beast depicted is Sirash, aged counselor who guides the Golden Lineage. So why is a Golden Lineage rug in this manor? Why wouldn't they change the rugs afterwards? Well, Radagon marries Rennala while Godfrey is Elden Lord, so it makes sense to why their accoutrements would be in the Caria Manor. Doesn't seem too crazy for me. All right. Our hands are back. Time has twisted slightly. And our enemies are back. What do we got here? Time for parrying. Time for stealth. Oh, look at that. Cutie. Surprise attack ahead. Okay. The puppets. The puppets attack us. So these are the contemptuous cuckoos. They have been turned into puppets. They have, like, what type of color eyes? Is this blue or purple? Blue eyes? And they're spirits. So their spirits have been enslaved by the Carians. We only know about puppets from right here, from the ghost right here. Like, not the puppets. But we know that he wasn't talking about the marionette dolls, like the marionette soldiers. That's interesting. And these are very similar. Like, they look similar, but they have a different color. They look similar to the when we summoned Spirit Ashes. So I think we already did this type of discussion earlier. What does this say? Time for jumping. That's a little low. That'll kill us. We can jump from over there. So it is. It appears to be similar to spirit calling, and we know. I think we know that the Carians have some tie to, I mean, spirits, just because of their knowledge of the wisdom of stone. Oh, you're sly. Just because of the wisdom of stone, and how that is like using souls that are stored in glintstone to look into the past. And I'm too fast for you, buddy. Are you gonna come down here? Got him. Sniped him. And since they're tied to the underground, because we found what do you call it? What statue? Oh, the hooded maiden statue in and around the Eternal Cities, and there were just so many ghost gloveworts down there. A very spiritual area. They're tied to, we found ghost gloveworts. There was a great ghost glovewort down in Noxtella, which we were just at Nokron Eternal City, so Noxtella should also be an Eternal City. Before we go down that ladder, anything up here? So it would make sense if they would have that type of magical power to know how to use, like, especially with glintstone and stuff. They have the wisdom of stone. They have the wisdom of stone that they're trying to protect from the academy. It would make sense if they would be able to how to determine to take someone's essence and turn them into a spirit for them to summon. Especially if you consider Latenna. A rare case of one who chose to become a spirit voluntarily. So this is something that could probably be changed, like, this is a magic power that people could do. Or a science. Let there be sorcery. Ooh. Look at that glow. Sword of Night and Flame. I hope I have the stats to use it. Oh boy golly, look at that. 12 strength, 12 dex, 24 int, 24 faith. Thank goodness for Godric Trait Rune. We can use the Sword of Night and Flame. Let's look at this weapon. One of the legendary armaments. Know what it says? Sword, storied sword, and treasure of Caria Manor. One of the legendary armaments. Let's take a look at this bad boy. Sword of Night and Flame. What do we see down by the hilt? Gold at the bottom. Flower motifs. The crossguard. Are those... They look like blooming golden flowers? I'm not seeing lilies, though, but definitely flowers. Then we have, which looks like kind of a church. 3 figures at the bottom, going up, maybe a tree, and then a star maybe at the top. Kind of church-like, golden church-like. And then, let's turn a bit. Then inside the blade, flowers, any lilies. Do we see any lilies? No, just kind of flowers, but it's different left and right. We have left is blue and right is gold. If I flip the camera, do we see on the other side, is it the same? Yeah, okay, so it's parallel. So this left side must be night and the right side must be flame. And go all the way up. Wow. So it kind of looks like ice, or maybe it's glintstone, and then the right side must be flame. So let's read what the sword does. Astrologers who preceded the sorcerers. Okay, well, so that's interesting. We already have something that's interesting there. Because if we look at the astrologer's hood, astrologer hood, this is from someone outside the Alliance Between. Hood fashioned from supple cloth, worn by those who look to the cosmos above. They read fate in the stars, and are said to be the heirs of glintstone sorcerers. Okay, they're said to be the heirs of glintstone sorcerers. So glintstone sorcerers, common belief, glintstone sorcerers come first, then astrologers. Not true. Not true. The Sword of Night and Flame tells us. Astrologers who preceded the sorcerers, so people who are looking at faith in the stars, are older than the people who use glintstone for magic. So this is before glintstone sorcery we have astrologers. I think that's common knowledge in the lore community. I don't think that's shocking anyone. But what's important is that they're said to be the heirs of glintstone sorcerers. So this is knowledge people don't know. They don't know this. But the Carians know it. Established themselves in the mountaintops that nearly touch the sky, and considered the fire giants their neighbors. Okay, so astrologers, the astrologers are neighbors to the fire giants. Now, Ranala has Oathsworn Giant. When we go to the Church of Vows, there was the hooded statues of that man holding flame, holding fire, holding torches. This is the only time we're going to see those statues holding torches at all in Elden Ring. And when we talk to Muriel, he says that Lord Radigan harbored a secret. The statue, let's see, giant stature. A famed sculptor of the Erdtree capital was once summoned to render Lord Radagon's likeness in giant stature when he glimpsed a skeleton in Radagon's closet. And as such, it is said the great statue harbors a secret too. Now, Radagon has red hair. Red-haired Radagon, red-haired Radagon. When we go to the Fire Monks, all the Fire Monks have red hair, and they're guardians of the Flame of Ruin. And they say that there is a fell god living in the flame. Where is that? The flame of the fell god. Raise a ball of raging fire said to inhabit it by a fell god. The fell god still lurks within the fire giants. So this is giants who are aligned with astrologers, their neighbors. People don't know in common practice. They don't know that the astrologers came before the sorcerers, but the Carians do. Could Radagon's secret be that the secret that he has is that maybe he is part fire giant? If we look at the descended, do we have? We don't have that yet. What else do we have? Let me see. So if we look at the Northerner character creator, a face found among the hardy people of the unforgiving North, some say they're descended from giants. So perhaps that's Radagon's secret, that he was a descendant of giants, of the fire giants. Maybe that's why he has red hair. And that's the secret in the statue. What do we have as our... Oh no, the big hand. Don't come at me yet. Sword of Night and Flame. Hold the sword level and prepare to cast a sorcery. Follow up with the normal attack to cast Night Comet, the Night Comet sorcery, or strong attack, sweep forward, burst of flame. Ooh, okay, so let's see Night Comet. Wow, okay, well, I didn't hit him. Let's try again. I didn't really hit him, not doing much damage. Woo. So that must be the spell that Ranni cast in her boss fight. Let's do the fire. Yeah. Oh, there's that spell. That the color is pink, and it gets you stuck, but I don't want to get stuck. Okay, we're gonna have to upgrade this, buddy. Okay, we can teleport. Let's go. You know what? EG is a smith. We don't have to actually go to Hugh to upgrade our weapons. So let's go to EG, who also related to the giants because he's a troll.
It's kind of you to speak to me again. Then I presume these old bones serve their purpose. More or less.
You can see his mouth moving under the mask. All right. Oh, go to D to C. Excellent. Oh, +5? Yes. So what does that put the weapon at? 432. Is this like the best weapon with the stats we have right now? What about our... Yeah, because this wasn't upgraded all the way because it's mostly strength. I think this is the best weapon I have right now because of my silly geo-fundy stats. But hey, I wanted to use this weapon. Now I can't lose my Great Rune. I gotta level up more. So now that's interesting. If Radagon... It's also Night and Flame. So if... Wow, that's awesome. You know, when I usually play these games, you know, I'm usually always like greatsword, no shield, but I like this sword because it's like, it is a legendary weapon and it feels legendary, and I like the sword and shield as like the knight with a legendary sword. I just think that's so cool. And this weapon is just like so rock and roll. So if Night and Flame is that prophecy too, oh, it's a good thing we got the filigree press for the... They're just... It's just so funny. You know, I want to talk about, like, oh, is Radigan supposed to be the fire giant? Is he Night and Flame? When we fight Margit, and if it's prophecy, when we fight Margit, he says, tarnish smoldering with thy flame of ambition. Look at that. Holy crap. Now that is a frickin' Ash of War. They have Night Comet. Yeah. Yeah. He says, smoldering with thy flame of ambition. We're coming here. We're going to Ranni. You know, Roger wants us to go to Ranni. Grace wants us to go to Ranni. Oh, there's an item down there we gotta get. How do we get there? I guess we just jump. Try down. So, Roger wants us to go to Ranni. Grace wants us to go to Ranni. Iji's wearing a helmet to protect his thoughts from the fingers. And, you know, if Radigan is supposed to be a descendant of a fire giant, if he's the fire to the Night and Flame, and Rennala was his wife, she's the full moon, she's the night, what does that make the Tarnished if they have the flame of ambition? Smoldering with thy flame of ambition. Are we also part of this? Is Night and Flame a prophecy as well? Astrologers who preceded the sorcerers. Well, so the astrologers... Oh, we just talked about this. Astrology tool used by members of the Caria Manor family. During the Age of the Earth Tree, Carian astrology withered on the vine. The fate once writ in the night sky. Fate. So how are the Carians seeing the future? Well, they're looking at stars. They're stargazing. Starlight charts. Is there anything else about the... I think it's the astrologer's hood. Alas, the night sky no longer cradle fate. So the night sky no longer has fate. We can't look at the stars anymore and be able to deduce the future. But for a time, the Carians could have, until it was fettered by the Golden Order. And part of that might have been Night and Flame, like Night and Fire has to come together. Which, that makes sense too. Night and Flame, that's the Song of Ice and Fire. It's literally, this sword, the reason why this sword is legendary, it's ice and fire. Night and Flame is just ice and fire. It's the Song of Ice and Fire. It's literally the prophecy, Song of Ice and Fire. It's Azora High. Here it is. So the prophecy of a Song of Ice and Fire. This is repeated frequently. But it pops up. My favorite place that it pops up is in... Oh, shit. Okay. My favorite place that it pops up is in, Danny's vision at the House of the Undying. But in... just briefly, because I gotta reread that chapter before I start talking about it. But maybe I'll do it before we get to Ranni. Rhaenyra in House of the Dragon, she is given the dagger from her father, Viserys, and she puts it in the fire. She puts the dagger in the fire, and Valerian script comes on it. It says, from my blood come the prince that was promised, and his will be the song of ice and fire. So in Elden Ring, it's not the song of ice and fire, it's Night and Flame, but it's like the same thing. So it's prophecy. So the Night and Flame, this is prophecy. Perhaps that's why Radigan was sent to Rennala. It's prophecy. Their marriage could have been prophesized as Night and Flame. As Night and as Flame. Right? And as Flame. Alright, what do we get here? An Urmi. Where is it? It is a whip. Let's take a look at it. It looks metal, looks like a sword, has a hilt, and it curls inward. What's the Ash of War? Just kick. Heavy attack. But if we charge it... Ooh. Okay. This weapon is made. This weapon made from extremely thin, flexible blades of metal, wielded like a whip by night folk warriors. Who are the night folk? The features of those known as night folk: they have silver skin, if you were to use them in the character creator. Few in number, they were said to bleed silver long ago. Though in essence, a whip with a cutting edge can also be used as a spear to cook foes. So, the night folk have weapons that can transform from whips to spears. Transform. Okay? Transform. They also bleed silver. Who else bleeds silver? Albinorks. Albinorks are made from human hands. Many of the Albinorks seem to have been made by the Academy, like the frogs. But some Albinorks, like our friend Latenna, she comes from the wintry north, from the cold regions. Cold regions. She comes from the cold regions. She's made from human hands. And they bleed silver. What else is silver? Larval tears. Corvid creature of mimicry known as a silver tear, which is used by Ranni. And when we look at the Carian sigil, it looks very similar to the night sorceries, night and flame. But it's not. It mimics swords. So the Carians, it looks like, if the Carians, and they came from the mountaintops, the astrologers came from the mountaintops, and Ranni has astrology tools. When did she meet the full moon? Does it say? When she was young. And they have this. They know about so it's looking like to me, the Carians, the Carians must have come. They're mimics from the mountaintops. The mimics from the mountaintops come down and they take over Liurnia. And here's one of Rykard's abductor virgins hanging out in Caria Manor where his sister is at. So Rykard has his abductor virgins here at the Academy and at Mount Gelmir and at Caria Manor. So Rykard and Ranni are allied. Is it better to do this? 1,000 damage. What about this? Because it's made of metal. What about more? Charge it up. No, that was better. Damn. Easy mode unlocked. Never losing a rune arc ever again. So if Rykard's aligned with Ranni during the Night of Black Knives, or just in general, if he's just aligned with Ranni, that's kind of like putting it all together for me. The Carians kill the entire golden lineage. The only person left behind is freaking Godric, right? Like, he's like divine blood slowly diluted, so like only the losers of the golden lineage, the dregs of the golden lineage, are the only people that are left, and they have to frickin' and they have to contend in the Shattering against Radahn and Rykard to try and become Elden Lord. Here's our Albinork. So, yeah. It's looking like the Night of the Black Knives and all that jazz. Big Carian conspiracy going on here. Big Carian conspiracy. They seem like they are using prophecy to get what they want. And what do they want? Well, we don't know yet. We don't know what they want. But we want to learn more about Ranni's Cold Dark Moon. Look at that. Oh my goodness. 1,000 damage? Holy crap. What about you? Yeah, we've become unstoppable. All right, everybody. Next episode, we shall continue through Caria Manor. It's looking like, is this, now this is actually where it's going to get interesting. Is this a Carian plot? Is this the Eternal plot? Is this Marika's plot? Like what? Who's on whose side here? When we get big picture stuff, you know, we're going to be doing a lot of like, alliances for the Shattering War. So obviously for the Shattering, we have Rykard and Ranni are aligned in the Shattering War. Godric, we don't know who he's aligned yet. Radahn, we don't know who he's aligned yet. We know it's not with Miquella and Malenia. We got to figure out, well, during the Shattering War, Malenia fights Radahn, who's a Carian, but we find people who are worshippers of Miquella's. They have faith in Miquella's Halig Tree. So it's tough to say It's really tough to say. But the Mimic commentary I think is getting stronger than ever, especially with Caria Manor, especially with a song, or the Sword of Ice and Fire. I mean, the Sword of Night and Flame. Ha ha ha. All right, everybody. You know the drill. Let's do the thing.